Hi, it's Will from StormTheCastle.com, and this is a tutorial on how to sculpt a miniature. And this miniature that I'll be sculpting is a Sphinx. Hi, it's Will, and this is a little addition to my tutorial here on sculpting a Sphinx. And this is the next day, and you're going to watch the tutorial on how I make this Sphinx, which is okay, but I wasn't too happy with it after doing the whole tutorial, and it was a lot of work. So, but I decided, well, you know what I should do is I should actually sculpt another Sphinx. So what I did was I did sculpt another one. And for this I used Sculptalina, which is very nice, very fine modeling clay, sculpting clay. And I referred to pictures of the Sphinx so I could get a really good sense of it, how it looks and the dimensions of it. So this one came out a lot better. So I guess the point there I want to make is that, you know, if you're doing something, anything, just about any pursuit, sculpting, anything, making dioramas, whatever. If it doesn't come out the way you want it to, do it again. Try it again, and you'll get better. And you see, this one's a lot better than this one, in my opinion. You know, this one's kind of wacky, but so that's my point. I wish I would have shot the video footage for this one. This one took me about 4 hours to sculpt. I didn't, so you can't see any of that. But that's my point. So this is, you know, this Sphinx is nicer. And I'll pop in a picture here of the actual Sphinx so you can see that it's a pretty good replica. And I do have videos here on my channel in Egypt and videos here of the Sphinx if you want to check those out. So there's the lesson, you know. Give it another shot. Try again. Refer to some pictures and you improve. And that's the real point there. So on with the tutorial. I'm working on an Egyptian diorama. Not a real fancy one. It's a pretty basic one. But I need a Sphinx for it, and so I'm going to sculpt the miniature Sphinx, and I'll show you a few things here. I do have a lot of other tutorials on sculpting miniatures. I actually have a whole series of tutorials. It's 16 videos long. Takes you from very beginning to the very end of sculpting and all kinds of stuff. It's a really good series of tutorials, so you might want to check that out. It's called Sculpting Fantasy Miniatures. But let me go over a few things here for the sculpting of this. Because the Sphinx is larger than a normal miniature because of the diorama, what I ended up doing is I actually screwed together 3 corks. I like to work with a cork when I'm sculpting. It's really convenient to hold and to sculpt. I screwed 3 of them together so I could put the Sphinx on, and you can see I made a wireframe of the Sphinx, and that's how you start out with a wireframe. Give you the basic shape of your figure. It makes it'll hold together much better. And it makes it a lot easier to sculpt it, especially if it has like appendages like the neck and the head. A couple things I wanted to show you. So I used some wire here, and I'm going to use a little bit of aluminum foil. I like to fill in some of the bigger areas with aluminum foil. It saves on clay. And so to do this, a couple of other tools, a couple of small tools to manipulate the wire. And I also did solder. I like to solder the armature. This is called an armature. I like to solder that together for strength. And the clay I'll be using is called Procreate. This is a professional modeler's sculpting putty. It's 2-part epoxy. There's a few different types. There's like something you can get called green stuff, and I've used that. But I like this Procreate the best. I like the feel of it, the workability of it, and the final result of it. This is really nice. It comes in 2 parts if you're not familiar with this modeler's epoxy. Comes in a resin and a hardener, and what you do is you just break off a little bit of each, about equal portions, and you mix them together. And once you mix them together, you get about 2 hours before it hardens. So you mix it together a piece, sculpt it, maybe mix together some more, sculpt it some more, keep adding to it until you're done. And you've got about 2 hours of working time, and you don't have to bake it or do anything with it. It'll harden to its final form. Then you can paint it and finish it. So I will show you a little bit of the sculpting as I do it, although it's difficult for me to get the camera in there while I'm working on it, but I'll try to give you a little bit of that as I'm going along so you can see. So this is a Sphinx miniature for the Egyptian diorama that I'm working on, and I'll have the video of that hopefully pretty soon. Okay, I filled in the body there of the Sphinx with some aluminum foil to take up some of the space. And I've cut myself off 2 pieces of the Procreate, the 2 parts of the epoxy, and I will mix these together. And once they're mixed up well, then I'll start to apply it to the Sphinx, to the miniature. Okay, so you've seen some of that, and what I've done here is I've laid in just the basic physical shape, just bulked it out a little bit to get a kind of a sense for the shape of the figure, and that's what you should do after this. You fill in the wireframe, get it filled in, get the rough shape out. From here I'll start to use tools, and I will start to actually sculpt it into shape, and I'll show you some of that too. Okay, I'm done with this sculpting. I could do more. That total time there took me 1 hour and 15 minutes, which ain't bad. It's an okay little sculpture, you know. So next I'll let it harden, totally cure, and then I'll paint it, and it'll be ready for the diorama.